basar basically means the house where the warring, because we're using our minds. We live by our minds. That's what the flesh is. Bottom line, that's all it is. And that's why the flesh will always be an enmity to Yahweh. Because the only reason that flesh was placed on man's body was because he sinned. Okay? Then let's go on to the soul. Everyone say nefesh. Nefesh. I love that word. Nefesh. And it means to the soul, the self, life, creature, person, the appetite, the mind, living, breathing, desire, emotion, passion. That which breathes, and the breathing substance of the being, or the being, the soul, the inner being of the man, the living being. Because once the soul goes out of this body, what do you have?
Death.
Nothing. When you see a person laying in a coffin, is that them?
No.
That's not them. Because the nefesh is gone. The spirit, the soul of them is gone. The inner man himself, his person, the individual, the seat of the appetite, seat of emotion and passion, activity of the mind, dubious, activity of the will, and activity of the character. But what I thought was really interesting is that this is a feminine word. This is feminine. So when people say, get in touch with your feminine side, men, that's not a negative thing, because truly your soul within you is feminine. The flesh outside is Adam, is male. The soul within is feminine.
That's good.
Ah, that's why she had to be called out.
That's
Yes,
right.
that's good.
She was pulled. She was drawn out of him.
Yes.
Oh my. Good stuff. Good stuff.
She was drawn out of him.
That's good.
The nefesh. And so that's why, ladies, we are very creative. And we are very, very artistic in our thought. I'm not saying that men are not creative and not artistic. Usually they are if they have a wife. But anyway, when we look at it from the standpoint, of being really realistic, you have the women that are just very, very creative, and we tend to go really overboard in doing things, you know, and where we'll say, people will say, and a man will say, yeah, well, that's all right like that. That couch is fine, just like it is. And next thing you know, he'll come home, and boy, that couch will have all these pillows and things and tassels hanging from it, and stuff hanging all around it, and garland, and then we look at it and we say, that's good. And that's because we are the nefesh. And just like when Father Yahweh created the heavens and the earth, before he did that, something very interesting. The scripture says, and the spirit, the Shekinah, which is also feminine, of Yahweh, hovered over the face of the deep. And then he said, let there be. And the spirit went forth and began to make things happen. Out of his mouth, the nefesh. So then we look at the nefesh being a nun, a fe, and a shin. Everybody say nun. This is a nun. Nun, fe, and shin. Now, because the dagash is on the left side, it is pronounced shin, opposed to sin. So we're going to look at the difference in this word and the word basar for representing the body or the flesh. The nun is represented, the letter nun. I just love that letter. It's so deep. And it means faithfulness, heir to the throne, or humility. Because the nun is made up of a valve. It's a valve that's kneeling. It's in a prayerful position. So it's humble. And it stands for humility. and the complete humility of a person, of a man, because a Vav actually represents a man or a nail. And then we have this kneeling Vav and humility. And then we have Fe. The letter Fe always represents the word, the face. As we see panel, pana, and that means face. When we see, or even mouth, as we see the word in the scripture, Aaron's grandson, his name was, they call him Phineas, but his name was Pincus. So it could be pronounced Phineas or Pincus. And his name meant mouth of brass. So we see the mouth really determines the structure of the face. Because think about it, everybody smile. Now, everybody frown. The structure of the face changes when you smile or when you frown. So the mouth is representative of the face of a man. So we look at this, we have the nun, who's a humility, and then the face, and then the shin. But now in the place of peace, as El Shaddai, as the peaceful, the divine power and provision of Messiah and of Yahweh. So we have the nun, humility, on the face of Yahweh, El Shaddai. That's the soul. That is the soul. That's what dwells within. He created us to be in this place right here, Nefesh. But we were engulfed and encaptured within the Basar because of the sin. Now let's go on to the spirit. There's Resh, Holenbab, and Ket. Everybody say Ruach.
Ruach.
The Ruach is representative of the wind, the breath, the spirit of Yahweh, living, breathing beings, the gift, what Yahweh breathed into Adam's nostrils. Says that he breathed the breath of life into the nostrils of Adam, and Adam became what? A Nefesh. Before he was just Basar. He was just flesh. But until Father Yahweh breathed into him his Ruach, that's when he became a Nefesh. So the word Ruach, breaking that down, is the Resh, Holenbab, and why I call this the Holenbab, anytime you see that little dagesh right there in the middle of the Bob, that's allowing you to pronounce the word, the letter, give a pronunciation to the letter before it and after. So anytime you see that in the middle of a Hebrew letter, you pronounce it ooh, ooh. Everybody say ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so if you see it at the top, that's o, o, ooh. If you see it at the bottom at the feet, e. So it's o, ooh, and e. See, y'all can sit down and read the whole Torah if you wanted to. Just from seeing that. So we see the pronunciation of it being Resh, U, Rauk, Rauk, yeah, Ruach, Ruach. So, but the Resh, we know, represents the head. We already talked about that. The back of the head, where you think. And then, the Holenbab represents a nail or a man, a hook. And then the Ket represents life, grace, the covenant. So we see Messiah all in that. From the head, being the head, not only representative of the thought process of the head of a human, but it also represents the chief or head, the chief cornerstone. I mean, this language is so rich. Hallelujah. The chief cornerstone. And then the Vav, him being man, and then being the life and grace, the covenant of peace. So that's representative of the Shekinah, who is Yeshua, our Messiah. And that's end of part 2. So we're going to go ahead and open up for any questions.